G'day guys, welcome back to Bushka on Blitz. This is Bushka coming to you wherever you are right now. The Centurion 7 Mark I. What a crazy tank. It's got all kinds of little controversial bells and whistles, and we'll go right into them. Before we do though, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Just click on the little button up in the corner. It'd be great to have more people along. And this tank was actually requested by quite a few people on the forum and in game. I'm not sure why, but I'll tell you something. It's unlike any other tank that you will drive. It's quite different. The reason being, it's a medium in name only. Its top speed is 40 kilometers an hour, but you'll only really get to that going downhill. It does move to your top speed pretty quickly, but then it feels like it's grinding gears, just hitting the rev monitor constantly. Like it could go faster, it could go a little bit harder, but they've put a speed limiter on it. If you have to push hill or something, you can on this tank in mines, a map like that. But if you really want to get about places and dogfight and brawl, you're far better off with a tank like the T54 or even the M46. The controversy about this tank, two things. It shares a gun with the FV4202. That gun is the Royal Ordnance L7A1, the 105mm Royal Ordnance. The big difference, and the reason I was quite disappointed when I first finally got to that gun, when I ground it out, its rate of fire is a miserly 5.69 as compared to the 7.27 you get, 7.89, sorry, you get with this gun when you upgrade to tier 10. And it is in all respects exactly the same gun, apart from the fact the aim time drops 0.2 of a second on the tier 10 version. Same alpha, same everything, just the rate of fire gets upped. Now, the reason for that is because Wargaming, WG, actually have modelled HESH into this tank. Now, HESH is the premium ammunition of the top two tiers of British mediums. It stands for High Explosive Squash Head. Now, I don't know how HESH operates in reality. In game, they've modelled it in a very lazy fashion. It's just basically HE with a higher penetration value. And the problem with HE with a higher penetration value is even at 210, there's not a lot of places it's guaranteed to hit. And if someone turns slightly, you can ruin a shot that would go through absolutely 100% every time with an AP round into a shot that's going to do 50 to 100 damage and cost you 5,000 credits to put out. So it's completely unreliable, which is a horrible thing because it's a great idea to have a premium round that actually does more damage rather than a premium round that just does more penetration. So what happens is you have a T54 or a tank as such that can switch up to 330 average pen with its heat, which is crazy, we know from previous reviews. When it absolutely has to pen something, tier 10, tier 9, whatever, and you have the Centurion 7 Mark I, which when it absolutely has to pen something, it's basically got to aim better. Now, what this also means is that your average DPM based on your standard AP is about 1990 with the L7A1. That's a very, very poor damage per minute for a tier 9 medium. The T254 runs at 2481. The M46 runs at 2555. Hence, the second bit of controversy with this tank. I use the tier 9 gun, which has for me revitalised the tank completely. It languished around the 42% mark for the first 100 or so games. I could not play the bloody thing because basically I was trying to play it as a medium tank with the big gun and it just didn't work. The rate of fire was too slow. If you got into a dogfight with an M46 or any kind of medium tank, tier 8 tanks would pen you and they'd do more damage than you and they could kill you in a brawl shot for shot. This thing now is a sniper, and it's a sniper with a rate of fire that is machine gun-like. It is really crazy. It fires off around about every 4.6 seconds as a baseline. It's 12.96 rounds per minute, 0.32 dispersion, 1.9 second aim time, and its armor-piercing base is 226. Now that's a higher pen than either the M46 or the T54 with its baseline AP. Its APCR goes to 258, and that's adequate to pen most tier 10s on their weak spots. And that's really all you're looking for from this gun at tier 9. What's more is it's a hell of a lot of fun to play. When you start firing off 40 rounds in a game with a tier 9 tank, it's almost novel. It's really refreshing and it's different. And it's one of the reasons I've actually managed to move this tank up into the early 50 mark on my win rate, because it's actually different and refreshing to play. It saved the tank for me. I wasn't a big fan of it at all until I changed the guns back to the tier 9 variant. Now, speaking of tanks and guns, let's have a look at the Armour and how you get penned. Now here we have the basic model of the Centurion. We're going to have a look at the collision model. Now that will give you the ammo values here. That's only 120 millimeters of armor at the front, and your lower glacis is only 76 millimeters. And you'll see we're actually using the 122 millimeter gun here, which I believe is the M103's tier 9 gun, and it's got no problems penning you anywhere. Yeah, the M103. Let's have a look at the tier 10 gun. You can see that lower glacis is enormous, and if you want to angle that far enough to bounce a tier 9 gun, you basically have to angle it so far that you're going to get penned all over on the side. Now, something to note, the tracks on this tank, you can see they're bloody enormous. It's a big, big tank. You can side scrape it with it, and I will show you a quick video of me side scraping during the review. You want to basically aim the gun over. If you're looking at it, that's how you want to be. So you want to see there. That's where the enemy is. So if you want to side scrape, that's your angle. So if you're behind a building and you're looking at your tank, you want the building to be along the line of the actual gun there, and you want your tracks to be visible like that, no more. You'll get overmatched occasionally and still be hit, but for the most part you'll be able to eat a lot of shots on your tracks from that angle, and it makes it, in a pinch, something that you can resort to as a last line of defense. You want to basically have a look too for this, for little parts of the topography and the terrain that you can abuse by hiding that flat 76 millimeter lower glacis. You angle slightly upwards and across, and you'll see that becomes a bounce zone. You can also see here that the reason you can do this is you have a lovely 10 degrees, negative 10 degrees of gun depression. If you have a look at just how good that gun depression is, have a look at that. That's hard to take as a Russian tank. Russian tanks, you're generally somewhere around about -5 degrees, I think it is, on the T54, which is about there, about there. Look at the extra 5 degrees with the difference it makes. It's huge. Great part of this tank. So, perfect world, you find a raised object or a rock to hide that lower glacis. You angle the tank so it's basically like that. You're showing just your tracks and you're pointing over the edge. There you go. But you can see it's massive, big weak spots all around. Everything's tough. 31 millimeters on the back. You're looking at 81 millimeters effective armor on the side, which is only 50 millimeters and 25 millimeters of tracks. Your side of your turret is 105 millimeters. Even the front, I mean, look at the gunman. It's just not very hard to pen. So, that's the armor. Now I run rammer, I run a vents, and I run a gun lane drive, because the best part about this tank is its rate of fire, its accuracy, and I want to make sure that I am absolutely pumping out. With rammer and vents, I believe you're looking at nearly 4 seconds a round. What that means is on a big reload time gun like an E3 or something of that nature, where you've got 12 to 13 seconds to smash in, you can fit 2.5 to 3 shots in on their reload. Now your alpha's terribly small, it's 190, but what that does do is it gives you the opportunity to auto track anything in the game. If you can keep pumping in around every 4 seconds into a drive wheel, they are not going anywhere. Anyway, I'm going to show you how I play this tank, mainly as a sniper. If I have to, I'll brawl and panic. But thanks very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy it. Here's the gameplay. See you soon. So here we are, going left flank on temple with all the other noob snipers. Because, my friends, that is exactly what I am in this tank. It will frustrate some members of the community no end, I'm sure, and whatever. If you want to be successful with this tank, I feel like this is more than happy enough for this to be the way you drive it. Now, it has two things going for it. It's got an accurate gun, and it's got a crazy rate of fire. I'm not sure if I mentioned it earlier, I can't remember, but I feel very much like this is the medium version of the Tiger 1. You can side scrape in it, you can really put out damage, but it's sneaky damage. It's not huge alpha. Like, watch this. Look at the reload time with vents and a rammer on this gun at 100% mastery. It's so quick, and at 0.32 dispersion and 228 pen, it will get through anything at tier 9. And at tier 10, you can aim for weak spots with your APCR happily. Now, its camouflage is not fantastic. It's better than the E50, but it lacks versus the pattern, and it's certainly far behind. It's about 50% worse than the T54. It's about 11.51. But what that does mean is that it's more than enough that if you get behind a bush, you can really take advantage of the camo and not get spotted while firing. Now, this IS-6 is going to ignore the fact that I'm here, but we're going to put 4 rounds in quicker than he can say, "Bugger me, I'm dead." What you'll see me doing here is I've turned on auto aim for the sniping. The reason I do that is if you've got a target you're pretty sure you're going to pen, it reloads so quickly that it lets you more or less just ignore the aiming system itself and concentrate on gameplay and position. I also turn it off all the time as well. It's something that I fluctuate between, but it's particular only this tank. I don't really use it with any other tank. It's just I'm an old bastard, and it goes so quickly that my muscles and my fast twitch just aren't there. Not like you young whippersnapper gamers. But again, you can see beautiful rate of fire. And it makes the tank different. It's really different to all the other mediums I play. It gives it that unique quality that I love about this game. Certain tanks have certain characteristics that make you love them and make you want to play them. Either big alpha or ability to side scrape, or speed or maneuverability. It doesn't always have to be about the gun, but for me, in this is where this tank's at. It's maneuverable enough to get the job done and get to the positions it needs to be. It has enough camo to get the job done and occasionally ambush. Its rate of fire with the tier 9 20-pounder is sublime. Now, it upset a lot of my compatriots here. Chicken, there you go. There's a few names getting called, but look at that. It's a lovely gun. Only 190 alpha average, but stuff it. It's just good fun. The Pershing, Charming 279 or something, calls me a noob here. He's done 800 damage. I'm going to go just under 4K and carry the team. You can see the the gun doesn't really make up for the fact that it's got no armour. I took that right through the mantle. Now, something that does happen to me here, which does happen occasionally when I'm switching between auto aim and off, is if I start brawling, I accidentally leave it on, and it can really adversely affect the way you place your shots when you're brawling. So you can see it's quick enough to keep the T54 in front of it. I'm just flashing the tracks around here, moving, trying to make him miss. And we both are. We all know how this goes. Just make him bounce, make him bounce. There you go. Cent Noob says Charmin 850 damage Pershing. And we finally get this bugger. Should have done it earlier, but whatever. No, maybe took one more to get him. There we go. So, I couldn't resist. Not very gracious, Bushka, but whatever. Just a shade under 4k damage, 2 kills. We fired an awful lot of ammo. We're going to have a look now at some side scraping, just to give you an idea on how the tank actually performs. So here we are on Winter Malinovka. We've got the L701 equipped. I thought it'd be a good idea to actually take some footage with the big gun on and give you an idea on how Hesh works too. Now, Hesh works very well in this instance because you're up against a lower tier tank in that Tiger and an M46 Patton who rears his head. You can see here, if you look at the angle of my tank, I've got my gun just over the inside of the track line, which is basically the best angle to have it on if you want to side scrape, and I'm pointing my gun directly along the line at my enemy. So there you go, that's the angle you want to be at. And you can take a lot of hits on your tracks, you can bounce a lot of shots. That other Centurion is not doing it, and as such we're going to have quite a few little digs at him. And they're just going for the tracks, they can't help themselves. There's a scent. Now if you're looking at a tank like the Tiger 1 and you want to use Hesh, you can quite comfortably do that. All you're going to do is line him up. You can see the grey spots there, 479. Huge damage for a medium to throw out, really big alpha. And if you can hit that more often, like you will on this M46 Patton, these things are made of tissue paper. 477. Really easy tanks to pen, and that's where Hesh works best. It's just not reliable because what you'll find is when you really need it, it will hit the edge or they'll move slightly and they'll hit a rounded part of their track and it'll get absorbed nearly all the damage. So there you go, that's how you side scrape in this tank. You can see it's quite effective. Obviously you'll get overmatched occasionally, but it is a very valid tactic. And the L701, if you want to use that, go for it. It's just not my cup of tea. Now onwards and upwards, here I am with Pimp Daddy. Yeah, I'm singing away. What am I doing? There you go. Anyway, Pimp Daddy, mate of mine from the forums. We're platooning here on Black Gold. This is actually the first run of the day for us, so all the better for it. He's in his M46 Patton. Unfortunately, I play a bit like a sook and he takes all the damage, but there you go. You get a bit lucky here too because they really should have pushed up on this flank. There was myself and Pimp Daddy, and they had an STI, but they didn't do it. You've got 1, 2, 3. He'll vanish off the sights, but I'm still going to get him. The rate of fire on this gun is electric. And it's just fun to play. It's so rare to see a gun that's this quick firing with this low aim time and is this accurate. Now, so I put one through this bush just because there's always a bugger hiding in it. It's almost like a good luck thing for me. Look how accurate this gun is. Boom. The Pimp gets another one into him as well. We bounce one off the IS. It wasn't Pimp, sorry, it was the IS-3 there. Don't mean to steal his thunder. That was Pimp. There we go. Make sure of it. Now we're going to go down and put some fire into this T-54 because we've correctly figured out that he's the big issue here. You can see the rate of fire. We've got another one on the way. And another one. We missed that one. It's quick enough in its traverse. I mean, it's quicker than the mediums and such. The STI gets Pimp here. We're just going to pound his drive, or we're just trying to stop him, give Pimp a chance to get the hell out of town. But unfortunately, it's too late. I should have just hit him in the lower glacis there. But anyway, we're going to hit his lower glacis. And just before his reload's done, I'm going to drive past, track him again, and pop his turret for good measure. Now, just in terms of gameplay here, we're down a tank. We're about to be down a little bit more. That louver in respawn has not moved all game, but he does move at the end, thank God, or I would have been cactus. Now, our T-54 is done and dusted. You can hear the noise the engine is making. It's almost like it's over-revving. It's because it gets up to that speed limit very, very quickly and then just grinds along against it. I'd love to see them give this tank another 10 kilometres an hour. I don't think it would be a terrible thing at all. I think it's got such a weak turret and just weak armour overall that it does need a touch of something somewhere else, but anyway, it's neither here nor there for me. You'll see 2 quick ones into the T20. He can't get his act together and it's all over. Now, a problem with using auto aim because of the speed of the gun and such is sometimes you get a tank like the IS-3 and you're pumping into the spaced armour on the side, which is not ideal. This is really a glory shot here. That was never going to come off. It was all red. But with the rate of fire on a tank like this, you don't really worry about wasting shots. Now we've got 2 tanks left to hit. We've got an IS and a T95. The IS correctly is hanging around with the T95, as he should do. He's supporting the big buddy, and he's using him behind, his firepower behind, to basically ensure he's not going to get hammered. But what I do have here, it's a very accurate tank and a lucky shot there. I can afford to blow a little bit of hit points if it lets me get behind that T95 and start the process of circle of deathing. You can see very accurate. We're going to take one from the T95 and just use that reload section to go out there, pop it directly into the IS. This is smart bugger, this T95 drive. It's exactly what I would have done. He's looking for a rock or a tank, and this Centurion is just not agile enough to quite get there behind in time. And he's now going to begin the process of squeezing me against that object and getting me in front of his gun. And this is where I start to panic massively. If that louver had just gone behind him, I wouldn't have been worried at all, but he didn't. As such, good on your T95. That's one I deserve to cop. And the louver's not penning him. I should have just hidden behind the louver. But anyway, I know the T95 wants me, so I go behind the louver again. Come up here, and I'm just thinking, die, for God's sakes, die. And he won't do it. We do get him eventually. So, great tank. Really interesting tank, a refreshing tank for me, something that I enjoy driving, something that I think is very different, and certainly something that I think is worth grinding towards. You can see here we've 45 shots fired and just a shade under 5,000 damage. Didn't get my mastery badge, but c'est la vie. So thanks very much, guys, for watching Bushka on Blitz. I hope that was helpful, that gameplay and the side scraping and such. And if you've got any questions or if you've got any suggestions for the next review, please feel free to drop me a line. Have a great day. Cheerio.